О, здорово, мужики. Хорошо, как вы? О, это что у вас тут?
Это здорово.
Ой, бля.
Это зоопарк у нас.
Зоопарк?
After Russian progress in the east stalled, they are now frantically trying to capture territory through mass attacks and meat assaults. However, in recent days, this tactic has led to tremendous losses for them, both in Kursk and Donetsk. The same goes for the Velika-Novosilka axis. Despite all cost, Russia wants to advance, no matter what and how much it takes. Near Velika-Novosilka, Russian forces launched a massive assault, using bad weather as cover, column after column, large infantry groups. Despite snow and low visibility, the 110th Brigade and adjacent units repelled them. Some armor fled, the rest now rests and rusts on the battlefield. Russian troops made 3 attempts to attack the positions of the 110th Mechanized Brigade and related units near Velika-Novosilka. The brigade released a video showing the destruction of enemy infantry and equipment on its Facebook page. The first wave of the offensive consisted of 8 armored vehicles spotted by aerial reconnaissance on the outskirts of the settlement. The enemy placed a tank at the head of the column, followed by armored personnel carriers and infantry fighting vehicles with soldiers. After detecting the Russian convoy, aerial reconnaissance promptly transmitted the enemy's coordinates to the artillerymen, but at that time the tank at the head of the convoy began to hit previously laid mines. In total, the tank had passed 6 mines when FPV drones began to work on the convoy. The first drone stopped a Russian infantry fighting vehicle that was behind the tank with a precise hit. Other FPV drones began to attack the tank, which had massive anti-drone protection installed on it, which is why the defenders were hit twice by drones and only managed to stop it on the 3rd time. At the same time, the stop gave the artillery of the Ukrainian Defense Forces the opportunity to start working on the convoy. During the detour, an artillery shell hit the Russian APC as it was passing the damaged vehicles. After that, the enemy armored vehicles began to make chaotic maneuvers due to the loss of equipment, trying to turn around and drive back to their own positions. In another area, an enemy assault group without armored vehicles launched an assault. The detected infantry was hit by aerial reconnaissance with cluster munitions, after which a drone with ammunition flew to the site to eliminate the remnants. Despite this, the enemy still had a significant part of the personnel, and at this time the enemy made a new attempt to assault with the involvement of armored vehicles. For the second attempt, the enemy engaged 1 tank and 4 infantry fighting vehicles with a landing. In addition, the enemy's offensive began from the 3rd direction, where it involved only infantry, in whose direction artillery began to work, and the remnants of the infantry were blown up on mines. The 110th Brigade then began to spot a new armored group with a tank at the head of the convoy, 4 infantry fighting vehicles, and 2 armored personnel carriers. After entering Velika-Novosilka, the enemy's equipment headed for the village of Novyi Komar. The Ukrainian Defense Forces accompany the Russian troops with a drone, and, when the moment allows, destroy an infantry fighting vehicle with an FPV drone. The enemy, approaching the positions of the defenders, begins to suffer new losses. The invaders' tank is hit by a Javelin man-portable anti-tank system. The infantry fighting vehicles, left without the tank's support, take the crew and begin to retreat. After that, the enemy, having suffered significant losses, stopped the assault, giving the defenders time to rest and prepare for new attacks. Militarny previously reported that the units of the 110th Mechanized Brigade had repelled a Russian assault near the village of Novyi Komar in the Donetsk region. It seems that the metal meshes Russians worked so hard on to protect their Rodnoy tank don't protect much from javelins. US-supplied Javelin anti-tank missiles have inflicted devastating losses on Russian armor in Ukraine. Their fire-and-forget guidance and top attack capability make them especially lethal against Russian tanks, which have weak top armor. Since the start of the war, Javelins have destroyed hundreds of Russian vehicles, from main battle tanks to armored personnel carriers, forcing Russian forces to adapt their tactics. Crews often add improvised armor, but these defenses rarely stop the missile's tandem warhead. The psychological impact is just as severe. Many Russian units hesitate to advance, knowing javelins can strike from hidden positions, turning entire columns into wreckage. Russian army is significantly suffering from a shortage of vehicles on the front, so they are using donkeys.
Так вот у нас красиво. Вот такая зима сейчас. О, здорово, мужики. Здорово, как вы? О, это что у вас тут?
Это здорово.
Ой, бля.
Это зоопарк у нас.
Зоопарк? Это подвоз, да, теперь будет у нас?
Ну да, типа того, блядь.
Подвоз, блядь.
Ну, блядь, вы ж в интернете видите, ибо это вживую, нахуй.
Да.
The British government is ready to deploy peacekeepers to Ukraine to ensure the implementation of any peace agreement. The Telegraph reported on this with reference to the words of the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Sir Keir Starmer. During the interview, he said that it was very difficult for him to make that decision, as sending British troops into harm's way cannot be a light decision. In addition, this was the first statement by the Prime Minister when he explicitly stated that he was considering the deployment of the British peacekeepers to Ukraine. This statement was made on the eve of an emergency meeting convened by French President Emmanuel Macron with European leaders in Paris on February 17, 2025. According to the Prime Minister, his direct statement about his readiness to send British peacekeepers to Ukraine should put some pressure on NATO allies, especially Germany, to publicly support the idea of creating a European peacekeeping force in Ukraine. The Prime Minister also suggested that the UK could play a unique role as a bridge between Europe and the US in the peace process for Ukraine. During the interview, Sir Keir Starmer emphasized that the UK would continue to support Ukraine and seek a fair peace for the country, along with comprehensive support. The UK is ready to play a leading role in accelerating work on security guarantees for Ukraine. This includes continued support for the Ukrainian armed forces. The UK has already committed £3 billion a year until at least 2030, the Prime Minister said. It remains unclear what the European-led peacekeeping force in Ukraine will look like. According to the Telegraph, these forces are likely to be deployed away from the front line, which should be one of the points in the future peace agreement. It is worth noting that there is more and more talk among European leaders about sending peacekeepers to Ukraine, as the country's politics is becoming more unpredictable with the arrival of the US president. In addition, the publication notes that Trump will never support sending American peacekeepers to Ukraine to maintain peace. As previously reported, Italy is ready to send peacekeeping troops to Ukraine as part of the resolution of the conflict.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to support Warthog Defense, please become our member and get early access to new videos, exclusive members-only videos, and become administrator in comment section. The membership link is in the description.
Rescues every day. We had a guy last week at 6 rescues in 6 days. You know, he's doing the job every day.